In Photoshop, all kinds of colourful fill designs can be created very quickly using Edit and Fill. In particular, brick fill, random fill and others. But how to start? That's the key thing. Let's just go back right to the beginning and you can open anything. I've got here a car, just a very basic shape. You can choose any part of this and that can be a source of a pattern. So I'm just going to go over here and it needs to be the rectangular marquee tool without a feather. You can't define it otherwise as a pattern. And you can select any part of this car or of course any image, could be text, could be layers, all kinds of gradient designs. So I'm just going to go with that. Good as anything. That's a great starting point. And you can of course create a square or maybe a rectangular design. So once you've done that, you can go to Edit and down to Define Pattern. And I'm going to use that multiple times in multiple ways to build up some complex designs. This is in Photoshop, the latest version, but also in previous versions as well. So you've got here this design, Pattern 178, give it a name, and click OK. Now, I'm going to get rid of it now. Don't need the car anymore. So let's just put that back to a white background and Edit and Fill. Make certain you of course got blend mode of normal and white. So Edit and down to Fill and use Pattern. So Pattern and then select pattern you just created. So there it is, just down the bottom of all the custom patterns. Got here Script. Now you could go with random fill, spiral, go for symmetry fill, just try out the different fills. So Script, symmetry fill, click OK. And you can see straight away then, number 7 is pretty good, dilated, but there's lots of other ones. You can just try them out. Just run through them, use all different settings. But you can use that one, number 7's pretty good. And you can of course vary the translation and create different designs. You can also add some colour randomness. Maybe go there and set that as well. And click OK. And then you can fill the screen up with this sort of symmetrical design. But I'm going to go with brick fill. So Edit, Fill, and down here, and brick fill. Again, make certain the script is on, click OK, and you've got this sort of design. And you can vary the pattern scale. And that's quite a useful thing as well. You set it to 0.91 initially, and then maybe change some of these other settings. You can move the offset, and you see as you change that. Now, the preview doesn't always actually match the end result. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. And again, you can modify colour randomness or not. Click OK. And there's the design there. If you don't like it, just undo, fill, and apply it again. You can always undo, and again, set that back to say 0, if you just want it straight down. And the reason for that is because I want to create a grid design. Unless I want a shear design, of course, with the other one. Click OK. Well, you can apply effects in between. So you could go to Filter, maybe go down here, Stylize, and Oil Paint. Now you'll notice some of the filters are not available. The reason being, I'm in 16-bit colour. I just happen to, some documents are in 16-bit, sometimes 8. Set 9.7, 9.9, no lighting, and you can apply it multiple times. So once you've got that, you can go to the layers. Now you'll notice probably it's locked. Personally, I always wish it was unlocked by default. Background layer, never want it locked. Because what I often want to do is transform it. Edit and transform, and you can rotate it 90 degrees. So you've got something like that. Because the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Edit and Fill, and I'm going to apply that pattern again. So the pattern this time is going to be applied horizontally or vertically, depending how you're looking at it. So there's the pattern again. Instead of normal blending mode, I want difference. Now you can get around this by applying it using a fade. That's a great option. So if you make a mistake, you go with normal. You can always go up to the fade and just go and set it to difference. So set it there and click OK. And you can see, of course, like I say, it's horizontal. You can keep the same settings. You can vary it if you want. Click OK. And you can see now you've got this sort of square design. But it's a slightly weird offset one. And again, of course, you can always go to Edit, fill, and again, use the same link, make certain it's on. Sometimes, for some weird reason, it seems to lose that setting. I don't know why. I go into it, script is turned off. Or it's set on, and then you click it, and it just applies the standard pattern design. Very odd. Doesn't do the brick fill. And you can see then I'm just going to apply, maybe reduce it down. So you can combine them. You don't have to keep it at the same value at 1. Put it down to 0.8. And click OK. And you can see then you can build up some very sort of jarring, colourful designs, all from that single part of the car. And again, go to Filter, Stylize, and Oil Paint. And you can tweak this, but I'm just going to go with 0.97, etc., and apply it a couple of times. Oil Paint seems to always make it slightly duller. I always prefer to go to Image, go to Adjustments, and maybe go to Levels, just to brighten it up a bit. Just happens to be personal preference, so just brighten that up. And you can see the sort of designs that are being created now. But you can still combine with other effects. So filters, stylize, or maybe go to distort and wave. Set it to 1. I wish it would actually default to 1 each and every time, but it always defaults to 5. And you've got this lovely wave design, which you can see here in the preview. Click OK. And again, you can transform if you want. Go to Edit and Transform. And again, 90 degrees. So it's rotated. And then combine again, Edit and Fill. And again, exactly the same pattern. Or choose a different pattern. You don't have to keep the same pattern. Now, in previous ones, I selected different parts of the car. So you could select a different part of the car. You could add in, when you start this, create 15 or 20 different custom patterns from that car. Just select parts of it. And then you can use it and combine different elements. And click OK. And again, see the end result there. You've got the wavy design, you've got the straight lines. And again, you can still go to Filter and Stylize, Oil Paint, or Solarize, that was the wrong one. Filter, Stylize, and Oil Paint. That's what I wanted. Click OK, and you can see the result of that. Now you can always, of course, go to Image, Adjustments. You might think, I don't really like the blues and greens. I want it the other way around. So invert, just try it out. I sometimes find after using difference, I like to occasionally just see by going to invert what it looks like when you invert it. And I think that looks nicer. It looks more painted design. It's got a lovely, all these squares. It's also got that wavy design as well. And you can do all that via Edit and Fill. And of course, I'm using difference. Don't have to do just difference. You go with Lighten. Obviously, in this case, it's probably not going to make much difference. But click OK. Click OK there. Oh, it does make a slight difference. Slightly lightens it. But also, what you can do is you can combine it with other images. You can bring other effects in between. You can also use, of course, the history option. So Edit and Fill. You don't have to set it to pattern. Go up here. You've got history as well. In some cases, you have to select. Obviously, you have to select a history state. If you don't select a history state, it will not know what to do. So pattern, you've got that. But also what you can do is you can use this. I'm just going to flatten it. So layer and flatten image. You can use selections. I like this one, lasso tool. It's my favourite. So I'm just going to create a quick lasso. And also I've got a feather setting of 38.5. You can set it to anything. Don't have to go with feather. You can have it sharp. So you've got that selection there. Then simply go to, again, Edit. And down here to Fill. Apply it to the selection. So brick fill, pattern. That one again. And make certain it's, let's go with difference this time again. Or you go with something else. Soft light, linear light, colour burn. Just try them out. Fortunately, there's no preview. Be brilliant if there's a preview. And also you can again reduce the size, scale. You don't have to keep it consistently the same scale. Or any of these other settings. Now, personally, I find when I change a spacing, it gets messed up. In fact, the spacing seems to have a mind of its own. You put it to put it to 20 or minus 20, the result goes all over the place. So I'm not even really certain exactly what it actually does, that spacing sometimes. So click OK. But now you can see the result just applied to that area. And again, you can just do exactly the same, edit and fill, or maybe combine again, oil paint. So you can see you can blur it, then edit again and fill. Pattern, brick fill, make sure it's on, click OK, set the scale. So just to show you, spacing. Just suddenly a very minor change in spacing and you get a really weird result. And you can go the other way and you like, really? Very hard to determine exactly. Whenever I go with this, I think something like that. And sometimes the results don't even seem to match what you think it should be. Had varied success with that. And you can see then that. So select and deselect. And if you don't like it, always undo. Don't have to go with it. Another option, of course, one thing that if you want to apply this effect, but you've got your favourite pattern. So your favourite pattern, your favourite application, you can always go to Actions. Just come out of button mode. And you can then click here, set up an action, record, go to Edit and Fill. Got your pattern there, brick fill, all those sorts of things. Let's just run it. The thing is to remember is that it will take these settings. So if you've got 0.38, all these sort of values, spacing, all this will be stored in the action. Also, the pattern itself will be stored. So if you change the pattern, it doesn't make a difference. You change the pattern later. If you delete the pattern, it doesn't seem to make a difference. It will still use that pattern. Might throw an error up, I don't know. But I think that's the case. You find that it will use that pattern. It stores it away. So click OK, and you can see that. And you've got your fill there. And if you expand this out, and the great thing about this is you can expand it out, and you can see there, Deco script, it's got the script, it's got the pattern ID. Unless somehow you can manipulate that pattern ID to something else, you can't change the pattern. Also, the script, all the settings, 0.47, all stored away in the action, which is fine if you just want to play it back again. So let's just stop the recording. Now with that, again, put it in button mode, and now just click there, and you can apply it again and again, but it will always use exactly the same settings. If you come back to it 3 or 4 days later, it will still have that setting. Another option, and let's just quickly blur this. I'm just going to go filter blur, Gaussian blur, just blur the design, gain, image, adjustments and invert. Always prefer the slightly redder greens and etc. and yellows than the blues. What you can also do is create a layer. So layers are really useful. So this time I'm going to go with elliptical marquee tool, create that. Now you don't have to create it with sharp edges. You can always go up here to feather. With this selected there, put it to 60, say. So you've got a nice blurry edge to it. Make sure you don't put it near the edge, just put it in the centre, because if you put it near the edge, you end up with it being cut off in an annoying way. And you can always move it around, so you just don't want to put it too close, otherwise you'll end up, say, getting it through the edge. So once you've got that, edit and copy. And now you can move it around. And you see you've got that, you've got no sort of cut in it or anything that's like annoying. And also you can apply effects. So filters, go to stylize, or maybe go to distort and wave, and you can just distort it. Set the wavelength, again using 1, amplitude, and click OK. And you can create a lovely distorted sort of wavy design like that, which is a layer. Go to effects, just go down there, bevel and emboss, and you can then, now I wouldn't recommend drop shadow. If you add a drop shadow, it becomes very, with feathers, it always seems if you go look like that, it doesn't look good. There's probably ways of setting this. You can probably tweak it to make it not look so bad. But personally, with a feather, I always prefer not to have drop shadow. And you can, of course, go for colour overlay, so you can set it to a solid colour if you want. Start that with a starting point, up to you. Also, you can go with blending modes, so difference and so on. You can see you can create a variety of different designs simply by changing the blending mode. And click OK. Exact same as before. What you can do, go to select, load selection, and just go here. Is the selection. I'm suddenly looking for the panel. Sometimes it puts it over here, sometimes it puts it there. And you've got the selection. Gain, edit, and fill. And you can fill it with that pattern. or select a different pattern. As I said, select, create multiple patterns from the same car. Really good start points. Then you can go back to them. You could have like 50. Select them different things. All have to be rectangular, using the rectangular marquee, which is always a pity. I always think that it would be nice if the patterns could be saved with obviously random edges. It would be so much nicer if it could. I mean, you can, as long as you've got transparency. But it's just a pity that you can't just do it automatically with selection. Anyway, again, just change the scale and apply. Now, in this case, not much effect. So layer, and let's just rasterize that. So maybe that was depending on the color. So edit and fill. Let's see. Color burn. Probably that was the reason difference. Click OK. Click OK there. Probably because I've got the color overlay. So let's get rid of the color overlay. There it is. That helps. Of course, a good thing to do if you've got the color overlay and you want to apply it with that color is just to rasterize it. So you just go to the layer and you can rasterize that layer. So rasterize, layer style. So you can make it all a solid layer that you can then apply the effect to. I was wondering why it was suddenly, I couldn't see it. That's very strange. Okay, so select and deselect. And then you've got this design. And you can move it around, reposition it, make it smaller. Maybe go to filter and wave again. Apply different waves. Rotate it. Apply a wave again. And so on. You can build up all kinds of unique designs. Another really good one, filter and liquify, just to distort it in even more ways. With that, of course, pattern that you've included in the design. And click OK there. And of course, great thing about this is you can repeat it. So repeat liquify. I always love using repeats. Just purely as an experimental thing, because you can then something fine, you think, oh, it creates a really amazing design. And then hold down the Alt Option key and you can then duplicate it and reposition it. Maybe select multiple of them. And then layer, and then go here, group layers. So you can group them or turn them into a smart object. Sometimes I do that. But also hold down the Alt Option key and you can see then, and this is all from a very basic car design. I'd like to stretch that out and resize. This is one of the reasons why I don't always go with smart objects, because that always just makes it slightly odd, the transforms. And if you're not expanding it out or doing anything, sort of applying the effects, I think personally it's just as good using layers. And then you can see you can build up a very complex design. Or if you want, of course, you can always use this design as a layer and as a pattern design. You can define that as a pattern design as well. Build up even more complex designs. And of course, you can also rotate it. Instead of keeping it always straight the other way, you can go the other direction as well. And again, continue to build up even more complex overlays of these designs. Well, hope you found this of interest. Any comments, please let me know in comments below. Thank you much.